السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dr. Nidal As-Salhi, Faculty of Business, University of Petra. If you remember class, last meeting we started with chapter 5, environmental scanning, and we discussed organizational analysis, if you still remember. Today we will continue with chapter 5. We will start today with slide 19 in order to come up with the complete strength and weaknesses as a result of our internal analysis. Let's start with the issues that we have to analyze in order to come up with the right strength and weaknesses to be taken into consideration in our strategic planning for next period of the company. Let's start with what we call the market position, which is under the first issue, which is strategic marketing as one of the essential functions of any company. Now when we say marketing position, it deals with the question, who are our customers? Okay, and by what means that we are going to serve our customers, and we can ask also the questions about our customer groups or segmentation of our customer in terms of market, product, and geographical location. And as you know, market positioning always start with the market segmentation first. Then market segmentation will allow us to come up with to select the right segments, which we call market targets. Then after that we will concentrate on our marketing positioning. Okay, now in order to do that, we need to take care of our marketing mix, which is the combination of 4 key variables that any company has to control in order to affect or to improve their demand and trying to gain competitive advantage. Let's start with the first marketing mix, which is the product. These are the 4 variables of marketing mix, as you can see: product, place, promotion, and price, which we call the 4 P's. Okay, in product, what we care about is, of course, we can take into consideration size, service, warranty, returns, quality, and so on. In the place is actually called distribution channels, okay, but they call it a place in order to have it as letter P. Okay, in the distribution channels, we concentrate on our inventory level, our transportation, and so on. Also promotion, of course, we have different let's say methods to do in order to advertise our product, like personal selling, sales promotion, and publicity. In price, of course, there is strategies for pricing our products in order to be able, of course, to compete with competitors. And in pricing, or pricing policies will differ from companies who are having a competitive advantage or a differentiation competitive advantage from other companies which have let's say a cost competitive advantage. Now the second issue, or let's say before we go to the second issue, let's take an idea about the product life cycle. If you still remember, in the previous classes we discuss, or we know what are the 4 stages of our product, or the product life, or life cycle we call it. Okay, any product has 4 stages of product life cycle, which is introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Now don't forget, we are trying to analyze our strength and weaknesses. Now we have to take consideration for the movement of our product through those 4 stages. Okay, why? because our strategies, for example, our strategies, if our product is still in the introduction stage, it's different from the strategies that we can use if our product is in the growth or the maturity stage. Okay, that's why we have to see at what stage our product is, in order to be able to have the right strategy, okay, in order to let's say to reach the maturity stage, which we call the cash cow for the company. At the same time, we have also to analyze the financial issues in addition to the marketing issues, okay, and we have to take it into consideration. And this issue, by the way, is very important for our strategic planning. For example, we have to concentrate on different points, such as financial leverage, okay, how to improve our the financial stand of the organization. We have to take care of, for example, the ratio of total debt to the total assets. We have also to describe how debt is used in order to increase earnings available to common shareholder. And each company always they are trying to have their strategic planning in order to have a superior performance. And superior performance, of course, if you have it, it will lead you to attain a competitive advantage, which will lead to profitability and profit growth. At the same time, at the end, profitability and profitability growth are tools used in order to maximize the shareholder value. Okay. The second thing that we can also take care of, which is our capital budgeting. So we have to analyze and rank the possible investments, alternative investments, or project proposals, okay, in investments in our land, buildings, and equipment, in terms of the additional outlays and additional receipts that will result from each investment. Now, a good finance department or a good financial management, let's say, will be able to prepare such capital budget and rank them on the basis of some accepted criteria. Now, for example, we have to know the payback period of our investment, how many years we need to return back our money. We have to take it into consideration before we develop our strategic plan, or before we decide which project proposal to select as an alternative. We have also to calculate for the the rate of return or time to break even point. And as you all know, the break even point is always equal to, it is about the total cost equal to the total revenue. So we have also to know at what point we can break even, okay, and this we do all of this in order, as I said, to take the right decision in let's say selecting our strategic alternatives. Also, another issue, in addition to the marketing and financial issues, we have to take into consideration the R&D, research and development issues. And we have to take here or to talk about some concepts. When we say R&D intensity, we mean spending on R&D as a percentage of sales revenue. Of course, our budget for research and development should match or aligned with our sales revenue. Okay, we cannot spend more or less. Now, principal means of gaining market share in global competition. And as you know, some companies, they are multinational companies. That's why they have to take into consideration the research and development intensity. Another point that we have to focus here on technology transfer. Now, it's the process of taking new technology from laboratory, from theoretical things, to the marketplace. Okay, it means that we have to apply what we are researching for. If we have a technology advancement in technology, we do it in our laboratory, we will have their innovation, okay, and so on. After that, we have to do it practically, which means that we have to apply it in the market. Another concept, okay, is the research and development mix, and there are almost three variables for the research and development mix. We have the basic R&D. Now, basic R&D is this, let's say, it's a research with regard to the theoretical problem areas, not the product itself and not the operation itself, okay? Wherein, when we say that we have to make research with regard to our product, which is the second term, product research and development, it will focus on marketing and is concerned with the product itself, like packaging, for example, how we can make packaging improvement. And as all of you know, that packaging is one important element of the product itself, and it is important. Let's say people now, they are looking for green selling, and packaging is part of the green selling. Engineering or process R&D, it is concerned with the engineering concentrating on quality control, okay, and the development of design specifications and improved production equipment. Now, as we all know, there is something that we call the value chain analysis. Now, each company, they are trying always to look for new ways of doing things, because the performance of our process, our business process performance, if it's not really always developed or advanced, then our efficiency will be low, which means that the cost of our operation will be high. That's why companies, they are always trying to improve the process, the way they do things in an efficient way. And when we talk of efficiency, you know, it is the ratio of our outputs to the inputs. Now, another issue, it is the strategic operation issues. And this is a very important. And by the way, as I don't know who among you studied production and operations management, if you still remember, we concentrate and we always say at the time that operations, okay, as a function, is the most important function. Why? Because it is the most costly function in the business process of any organization, compared to the marketing, let's say, function, and compared to the other functions like human resources and so on. Now, first of all, let's discuss, we call it three, we can call it three process strategies of operations. The first one is intermittent system. We call it also job shops. And by the way, this process or this strategy, let's say, is related to service companies, okay, or service sector, not manufacturing companies, like hospitals, for example. Hospitals, they don't have continuous system like in the manufacturing company, but they have intermittent system. It's not, when we say intermittent, it means that the process of the organization is not continuous, as I told you, like hospitals, or like, let's say, manufacturing system like auto body repair shop, for example. Okay, so that's why in this process you will notice that it has a high variety. At the same time, it has a low volume in terms of production. Now, the second system, we call it continuous system, and this is of course related to manufacturing companies. Work here is laid out in lines on which products can be continuously assembled or processed, like, for example, Frito-Lay companies, like car manufacturing, like let's say Harley Davidson, they have motorcycle assembly and so on. It's all, we call it a continuous system, because it's a non-stop system. Operating leverage, it's also an important thing that we have to take care in our strategic planning process. Why? Because it will impact our sales volume in general. Now, if any change will happen in our sales volume, and we take it in relation as a ratio on the net operation income, then the improvement in our operation will be clear for us, and what we can, let's say, do in order to gain a competitive advantage, especially when it comes to innovation and efficiency. Now, experience curve, we call it also learning curves. Now, learning curves, it will take, why they call it a curve, by the way, because it will take into consideration two axes, the x-axis and the y-axis. Now, on the x-axis, we have what we call learning and experience. On the y-axis, we have actually productivity. Now, which means more experience, more learning will lead to more efficiency and, of course, more productivity. Now, for each double of the production, example, if you have a new product, like for example manufacturing a new car, then if the first car will, let's say, consume 10 hours to be produced, and we have a learning curve percentage of 80%, then the second car will take only 8 hours, which is 80% of the 10 hours. This is very important in biddings. Why? Because managers or operation manager in particular, they have to understand that initial cost is always high, but with more learning, with more experience, okay, the cost will decline, okay, so it will decrease. And we are talking about strategic planning. When we say strategic planning long term, now if we don't take that into consideration, the learning curve, then our estimation for our future cost will always be higher than the actual one. Okay, now let's take another important issue, which is the human resource issues. Autonomous, for example, if we start with self-managed teams. Now when we talk of autonomy in general, we mean more delegation for people to take decisions, okay, and we cannot do that unless we have let's say the right way of recruitment, selection and placement. And self-managed teams means that we have a group of people who work without any manager, without any supervisor. They plan their work, they coordinate and evaluate also their work at the same time. We have also to take into consideration if we can have cross-functional work teams. Now, cross-functional work teams means that the members of the team are from different functions. From manufacturing, we have some of them from the manufacturing function, operation function, human resources function, marketing function, finance function, and so on. We call it a cross-functional. It means that our team come from different departments, okay, and this is very important one, especially for implementing projects, okay, and going through the project life cycle. Another important issue also that we have to take care in developing our strategy is the concurrent engineering. It means that engineers, like for example, we have design engineers and we have operations engineers. They should work parallel with each other, because if you are designing, for example, a new car or a new mobile with a new specification, you have to communicate that, okay, and integrate those specifications with the operations, okay, or with the operation engineers in order to come up with the right product, because operation engineers, they will decide if we can do that particular design and what are the cost of that particular design. At the same time, also nowadays most companies, they are concentrating on using virtual teams, like what we are doing now in our class. We are now we are doing virtual learning, okay, which means now now this one, or this virtual teams, started with global companies, because if you have with global companies, you have your employees spread in different countries. That's why the initial start, okay, the start was with the virtual teams with the multinational companies. They were communicating, having meetings, virtual meetings, of course using the telecommunication, information technology, and so on. And of course you can do it in the same country, especially if your employees are geographically far from each other, and this also will help a lot in let's say gaining a competitive advantage, especially with companies with different branches and different geographical area. Quality of work life and human diversity. Now, managing workforce diversity is a challenge, by the way. At the same time, it is a very important issue for the company in order to gain competitive advantage. Why? Because one of the core competences that company could have is the diversity of their employees, especially if they are from different cultures, from different races, backgrounds, because this will lead to differentiated innovation, different kind of innovation, which will allow the company always to have new things, new innovation, for the purpose of having a sustainable competitive advantage. Strategic information system technology issues. Of course, all of us, without any exclusion, we agree that information technology nowadays is very important in business, and any company needs to be distinguished from and advanced from their competitors. They should use information technology, especially the advanced one, in order to contribute more to superior performance, like automation of back office processes, automation of individual tasks, enhancement of key business functions, and development of course, this is the result that we are after, which is the development of a competitive advantage. Now, supply chain management. Of course, you have, as business students, you have a course which is supply chain management. Why we call it a supply chain? Because now supply does not only include raw materials. Supply, when we say why we call it supply chain, because the supply will continue from the inputs, which is started with the raw materials, and it will go through the throughputs within the operations, supply from department to department, or from, let's say, workstation to workstation, until the output, until the final product will reach our end users. That's why it's very important to take that into consideration in our strategic planning process, in order to have let's say competitive advantage compared with our competitors. Especially now, most companies around the world, they are focusing on green supply chain management as an integration, starting from the purchasing, operation, and selling. This will end our meeting for today. If you still remember, in chapter 4 we were talking about external analysis, which is industry analysis, and at the end, at that time in chapter 4, we were after opportunities and threats, and we give almost the same slide with this, except that now we have strength and weaknesses in the internal environment with the same company, which is the Maytag American company for washing machine. And I discuss with you one of the meeting when we talk about opportunities and threats, that this is a very this company is one of the most famous companies for manufacturing, American companies of course, for manufacturing washing machines. And this is your example here at the end, as if you look at it and you go back to chapter 4, you see also the last slide which was about opportunity and threats. Then if you integrate them, then you will have your SWOT analysis, which start with the opportunities, threats, strength and weaknesses, and this of course will lead to the next stage, which we will discuss in chapter 6, okay, which is strategy formulation. And we will start next meeting with the business level strategy in the strategy implementation, in the strategy formulation, okay. So until next meeting, I hope you will be all fine, and see you with next meeting on Monday. Thank you very much.